Picture this. The second half of Qatar versus Switzerland is about to begin. 22 professional athletes are standing on the pitch, bottles in hand, fully hydrated, stretched, focused, completely ready to play. The referee blows nothing. He just stands there. A Whitney Houston track is blasting through the stadium speakers, the stadium clock keeps ticking, and the players keep waiting. Not because of an injury, not because of a safety concern, not because of extreme heat. They are waiting because Fox hasn't finished airing its commercials yet. That single moment is the entire 2026 World Cup in miniature. A live match, paused mid-action, not for the athletes and not for the sport, but so a broadcaster can squeeze out the final seconds of an ad break. And once you understand the mechanics behind that pause, you start to see exactly what FIFA would rather you not think too hard about while you're watching this tournament unfold. So let's talk about the hydration break, because that name is doing a tremendous amount of work to disguise what's actually happening here. Here's the official rule, laid out in plain terms. FIFA has mandated a 3-minute stoppage around the 22nd minute of every half, in all 104 matches of this tournament, without exception. Crucially, the game clock keeps running throughout this break, which means every single match is now guaranteed at least 3 additional minutes of stoppage time per half, built directly into the schedule before a ball is even kicked. Multiply that across 104 matches, and you start to see just how much additional broadcast time has been manufactured out of thin air. The justification FIFA gives is player welfare. Officials describe it as a measure to ensure equal conditions across all teams and all matches, regardless of climate or kickoff time. Hydration, player safety, fairness. It sounds perfectly reasonable on paper, doesn't it? Except here's the detail that completely unravels the official story. These breaks happen no matter what the weather is doing. They occur in fully climate-controlled domes with regulated indoor temperatures. They occur on mild, comfortable evenings where nobody is at any risk of overheating. The opening match of the tournament, Mexico against South Africa, kicked off in Mexico City at a pleasant 23 degrees Celsius, ideal football weather by almost any global standard. And yet, at the 24-minute mark, the match was stopped anyway. Inside the Azteca Stadium, the very ground where Pelé and Maradona created some of football's most legendary, era-defining moments, play was halted so viewers at home could sit through 180 seconds of a home improvement commercial. 23 degrees. There was no heat emergency. There was no medical concern. There was no danger to player health whatsoever. There was only an advertising slot that needed to be filled, and a tournament willing to stop the world's biggest sporting event to fill it. So let's ask the question FIFA seems determined to avoid at all costs. Who actually benefits from this arrangement? Is it the fans? Almost nobody on the planet tunes into the World Cup because they're craving more commercial breaks. The entire magic of football, the thing that separates it from so many other major sports, is that it doesn't stop. 90 minutes of continuous, free-flowing action. No timeouts, no clock-stopping fouls, no commercial interruptions mid-drive, no 2-minute warnings, none of it. That uninterrupted rhythm is precisely what people mean when they call this the beautiful game. Fans have been openly mocking these breaks since the very first whistle of the tournament, posting clips, memes, and complaints across social media within minutes of the first stoppage. This clearly isn't designed with them in mind, and FIFA knows it. Is it the players then? In genuinely brutal heat, absolutely. A mandated water break can be valuable, even life-saving. Nobody with any sense would argue against giving athletes fluids when conditions are dangerous, when core temperatures are climbing and dehydration becomes a real medical risk. But nobody, anywhere, needs a scripted 3-minute rehydration ceremony inside an air-conditioned stadium, sitting at a comfortable 23 degrees. The players didn't request this policy. It wasn't built around their needs, their recovery, or their performance either. So follow the money, because that's where this story has been hiding the entire time, in plain sight, buried under a thin layer of corporate language about player welfare. Back in March, months before the tournament even began, FIFA quietly announced that broadcasters would be permitted to sell advertising during these mandatory breaks. Read that again slowly, because it's the key to everything. FIFA didn't merely create a pause in play for safety reasons. It manufactured an entirely new category of premium, guaranteed, sellable ad inventory, embedded directly into live match action, twice every game, in every single one of 104 matches. That's not a welfare policy. That's a product launch dressed up in medical language. And it allows FIFA to charge broadcasters significantly more for the rights to air these games, because now those broadcasters have brand new scheduled slots to monetize that simply didn't exist in this form in previous tournaments. Networks moved fast once that door was opened. In the United States, Fox immediately began cutting to full-screen commercials the instant the break started, every single time, in every match they covered. Broadcasters in Brazil and Ireland did the same, taking full advantage of the new ad real estate FIFA had handed them. The hydration break, in practice, is a revenue product dressed up in a lab coat, presented to the public as a health and safety initiative, while functioning, behind the scenes, as a guaranteed commercial slot baked into the very structure of the match. And here's the part that proves it was always a choice, never a true necessity. Some broadcasters simply said no. In the United States, Telemundo refused to cut away entirely during these breaks. Instead, they kept their cameras on the pitch, showing player huddles, tactical conversations, replays from the first 20 minutes, and live analysis from their commentary team, all without breaking from the action on the ground. Broadcasters in Mexico and the United Kingdom made the same call, declining to run ads during the stoppage and instead treating it as an extension of the live broadcast. Same rule, same 3-minute window, same tournament, same regulations, same official justification. Yet some networks managed to respect the football and keep viewers connected to the match, while others didn't. Which means every single ad-filled cutaway on Fox wasn't a requirement imposed by the rule itself. It was a decision made independently by the network, prioritizing revenue over continuity. Then Fox made a mistake that exposed the whole operation for what it really is. FIFA's own regulations explicitly state that broadcasters must return from these ad breaks at least 30 seconds before play resumes, giving viewers a window to settle back in before the action restarts and the ball is back in motion. In the very first match of the tournament, Fox came back from a full commercial roughly 10 seconds after the ball was already back in play. Live World Cup action, the very thing people were tuning in for, was missed entirely because the network was still finishing its advertisement. In sports broadcasting, missing live action for a commercial is considered one of the most serious production failures possible. And it happened in match 1 of the tournament, on the biggest stage in the sport. But the flip side of this is arguably worse, because it reveals that referees themselves are being instructed to wait, to hold up the match, regardless of what's happening on the pitch. During the match between Brazil and Morocco, players were standing ready to restart before the full 3 minutes had even elapsed. Both teams were set, the ball was placed, everyone was waiting for the whistle. The restart was delayed anyway, held back deliberately until the commercial break had finished airing in full on the broadcast feed. Morocco had taken the lead just minutes before that stoppage, and were clearly the better side in that moment, full of confidence, controlling tempo, dictating the game. By the time play resumed, that momentum had evaporated. The energy was gone. Brazil equalized shortly afterward. A genuine World Cup moment, earned through real performance on the pitch, was quietly drained away so that a 30-second commercial could run all the way to its end card. Hydration, apparently. That's the word being used to describe all of this. Now here's the part that pushes this from cynical into something closer to outright insulting, the part that really exposes the hypocrisy at the heart of this entire policy. This is the exact same FIFA that arrived at this tournament loudly declaring war on wasted time, positioning itself as the guardian of fast-flowing, uninterrupted football. Throw-ins not taken within 5 seconds are now penalized with a free kick to the opposing team. Substitutes have a strict 10-second window to leave the pitch once replaced, or they risk a card. Goal kicks face punishment for any unnecessary delay. Goalkeepers' tactical timeouts, the practice of slowing the game down at the back to manage tempo, have been banned outright as part of this new crackdown. FIFA's own head of refereeing, Pierluigi Collina, has even gone so far as to prohibit players from gathering near the bench during goalkeeper injury treatment, specifically because, in his own words, it disrupts the natural flow of the match and wastes precious time. Every second is being policed. Every delay is being scrutinized, recorded, and punished. The stated goal, repeated constantly in pre-tournament messaging, is constant, uninterrupted momentum from kickoff to final whistle. And then those same officials inserted the single longest deliberate stoppage in the entire sport directly into the middle of every half, twice per match, and openly invited every player on both teams to gather around their coach for a full 3 minutes, twice. The exact tactical huddle FIFA banned under one name has been quietly reinstated under another, rebranded, repackaged, and monetized. Manager Pochettino has reportedly been seen pulling out a laptop during these breaks to communicate tactical adjustments with his coaching staff in real time. The South Korea coach has openly admitted in interviews that he uses this exact window to drill specific instructions into his players, going through set pieces, defensive shapes, and pressing triggers while the cameras cut away to commercials. FIFA banned the tactical timeout, then rebuilt it from scratch, gave it a new name involving the word hydration, and sold advertising space around it to the highest bidder. Jurgen Klopp summed it up about as well as anyone in football could. Football, he said, is being held hostage by executives sitting in air-conditioned offices, making decisions about the sport based on spreadsheets rather than anything happening on the grass. And these mandated breaks function as golden cages for sponsors, perfectly timed, perfectly placed, impossible for broadcasters to skip, and impossible for fans to avoid, no matter which channel they choose, at least in markets where networks have opted in. To be fair, and this is worth saying clearly, because this isn't about pretending there's no legitimate side to this story whatsoever, real heat is a real concern, and dismissing that entirely would be dishonest. Several matches in this tournament will be played in genuinely dangerous conditions, with little shade, high humidity, and direct sun for 90 minutes or more. Parts of Florida are forecasting temperatures that will feel close to 105 degrees Fahrenheit during certain kickoff windows. In matches like that, water breaks aren't just acceptable, they're necessary, possibly even life-saving, and anyone who argues otherwise simply isn't being honest about the realities of player safety in extreme heat. But that's exactly what makes this whole setup so transparent once you look at it closely. If this were truly about heat, the policy would follow the heat, the way it did between 2014 and 2022, when these breaks were left entirely to the referee's discretion and were only called when conditions on that specific day, in that specific stadium, genuinely demanded it. A blanket rule that triggers in every match in every stadium, including fully air-conditioned domes sitting at a mild 23 degrees with zero risk to anyone, isn't a heat policy. It's a billing policy wearing a stethoscope. The weather is simply the cover story used to justify a decision that was made for entirely different reasons. European commentators have already started calling this the Americanization of football, a label that becomes darkly ironic when you remember that soccer isn't even among the top 4 sports on American television in terms of viewership or advertising revenue. FIFA looked at the most watched, most fluid, most uninterrupted, most globally beloved sport on the planet, a sport whose entire identity is built around continuous play, and concluded that its single biggest flaw, the one thing holding it back, was that there wasn't enough space in the middle of it to sell you a pickup truck or a home renovation service. 3 days into this tournament, and the pattern keeps repeating itself, match after match, story after story. Ticket prices under scrutiny from fans who feel priced out of their own national team's matches. Empty seats visible in supposedly sold-out stadiums during prime broadcast windows. Footage that organizers seem reluctant to show. Angles that never quite make it to the highlight reels. And now, on top of all of that, a referee freezing a live World Cup match, holding 22 professional athletes in place on the pitch, specifically so a commercial can finish airing to its natural conclusion. The hydration breaks themselves aren't really the scandal in isolation. They're simply the clearest, most visible evidence yet of a tournament that has quietly, steadily stopped being about the football itself. So here's the question worth sitting with for a moment. Is this genuine player protection? A thoughtful policy born out of real concern for athlete welfare, dressed up in good intentions and medical language? Or is it the most transparent cash grab of the entire tournament, hiding in plain sight behind a water bottle, a Whitney Houston song, and a referee who's been told exactly how long to wait? Because right now, today, in this tournament, FIFA is interrupting the biggest moment in world sport, on schedule, with precision timing, twice every half, in every single match, to sell you something.